Hi, and welcome to the lounge on this lovely, lovely Sunday evening. And for those of you who are just tuning in to season 3, we've been around since the pandemic. We used to be on Fridays, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, when people were home and had nothing else to do but listen to me and sit on their couch and drink some wine and have a cheese tray, right? And put Christmas lights all over the place. And like I did on my head when I first started this whole thing. But now people, you have a life, right? So we are going into this third season, coming in on Sundays at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for our new time. You could always catch us on the replay. Awesome, awesome. If you're new here, hi, I'm intuitive channel medium and transformational coach, Marisa Liza Pell. And if you, by any chance, are not subscribed to my YouTube channel, if you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching on Facebook, you still should subscribe to the YouTube channel because then you're notified when we're going live and you can interact with us instead of the replay. And if you're on Facebook, make sure you like Medium Marisa Liza Pell on Facebook. And so we're here bringing you a lot of inspiration on stepping into your purpose this season, aligning with your true calling, because this is where consciousness is at in the universe at the moment. It's not about externally sourcing information on what you should do from people like me. Okay. I'm here as a guide and to look at your pathway almost like a AAA agent, right? You want to go to Hawaii. There's many ways to go. Actually, that's a really bad example. You have to get on a plane. So let's just say you want to go to Canada. There's many roads to take, many avenues, many back roads, scenery, highways. I'm going to look at your life path and say, this is the direction. This is what I see along this path, and this path. But this is what you will have to decide is what your intuition is telling you. You have to choose and the action steps you need to take. So if you decide to take all the familiar roads, you're going to be repeating the same patterns, the same cycles. And going to someone like me is just going to predict what that's going to happen again and what that looks like. And, don't we want to up level and make a change? So right now in the cosmos, in the universe, what we're being asked to do to up level consciousness is to actually align, number one, with our intuition to know exactly what our next steps are within our own body. So we have that compass calibrated where we think, where before, maybe 10 years ago, it was pointing south and yet you thought it pointed north all the time. And so you're making decisions based on a broken compass. We need to fix the compass, align with our true selves and our true north, I call it, so we know exactly what our purpose is. And secondly, being able to break and interrupt the patterns to be able to confidently trust that, number one, we can step into it. Number two, the unfamiliar isn't going to cause us to freak out and go back to the familiar patterns because we're going to sabotage. Don't want to do that anymore. And we're going to take the steps to invest this year in our personal development. Because before, you might have said a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I'm feeling a lot of anxiety. So I think I need a reading to relieve me of this anxiety, for somebody to tell me what's going to happen so I have a sense of false control, right? I've been doing this work 25 years. So I'm not saying that this work isn't important, but how you're using it is important. So if you're going to invest hundreds of dollars, or for some people out there that are famous, mediums or whatever, they're into the thousands, for you to get a sense of the future, which I don't believe really exists until you actually make a decision to create it. Okay. So the future exists on different timelines, which we can look into to actually say, yeah, if you go down this road, these are the points you're going to hit. These are the exits that you're going to hit. These are the restaurants you're going to see on the way. These are the people you're going to meet. So that's predictable. But your daily choices in what sort of life and frequency you exist on the earth plane is completely up to you, and it's your choice and it's your free will. So coming to someone like me out of desperation and anxiety and wanting relief of that anxiety for a false sense of control is not the best. It's not the best resource to use, and it's not the best course of action to take, because you will feel better if you leave feeling like, oh, everything's going to be great in the future. But how's that going to change your life on a daily basis? Is that going to make you feel peaceful on a daily basis? Is it going to change the types of relationships you bring into your life? Is it going to change the amount of money you manifest in your life? Is it going to help you to create space to actually receive the things that you've always wanted instead of going back to the familiar? Most likely not. So that's why my work has changed over the last 4 years to actually empower you to get tuned in with being confident about what your intuition is telling you. And not only that, but to be able to trust it and take action on it. Okay. So today we're going to be talking about money mindset and manifesting the abundance you need to create financial freedom. Now, what comes first, the chicken or the egg, is the question. And a lot of people are saying, well, I need the financial abundance to invest in myself to then manifest. It's not going to happen that way. You're going to be living in the same state how your nervous system is in, like all over the place and scattered. You'll have money one week, no money the next. It's going to be a reflection of your energy. Okay. So we're going to bring Jenn Adamson on, and she's been on the show before. I'm going to talk a little bit about her. And she is a money mindset coach, a manifestation coach. So she's going to help empower you to feel like, number one, you deserve to invest in yourself. And number two, to take action on that and to have faith in the universe that you will receive back what you're putting out, and probably threefold. Okay. But a lot of us can't do that because of the fears that we have around financial security and stability that were instilled from our ancestral line, from birth, from the way we grew up, and from our spiritual karmic pathways. So there's a lot to look at here. There's a lot to unpack. But before we get into bringing Jenn on, just have a couple announcements. Number one, if you feel that you are intuitive, that you are sensitive, and you haven't taken my quiz yet, what's your intuitive superpower? This is the first step to finding out what your intuitive superpower is so that you could get in tune and start to refine it so that you could get closer to figuring out what you're supposed to be manifesting and what that purpose is. So make sure you go into the link in the description and actually take that quiz and let me know what you got in the comments. And then on the 15th of every month, I go over the energies for the whole month, the theme of that month, because it's the 15th. So we go over the theme of that month and the next month. And I also go over channeled messages for every day of the month, because manifesting is really important, but you have to also take the energy forecast into consideration and do it at the right time. So if you take action, it's like going on vacation and you don't check the weather forecast. You're just kind of like, well, whatever happens, happens. We want to keep you informed. So that's free to my email subscribers. Get on my list. Third, for the second time this year, I am opening up my 12-month high touch support mentorship program for those of you that would like to accelerate your intuition, balance and ground your nervous system, and manifest up to a whole new level of life. So if you're sick of tired of not having peace in your heart, of not having calm and balance, rushing around like a gerbil on a hamster wheel and asking yourself, is this all there is? Because if this is all there is, this is not what I expected when I was 7 years old, dreaming about my life to where I am today, hoping I would be a princess in a castle with a knight in shining armor. So if you're sitting there thinking, what am I missing? I feel like I'm in the dark, but there's a light switch and I can't find it. This is the program for you. I'm only taking 7 people. We opened up on July 17th. I'm closing August 9th. And if you'd like to see if this is a fit for you and you are ready to do some work and break through, there will be a link in the description of this video to set up a application call and to see if you would like to join us. Okay, so this is the only way I'm working with people right now, not doing one-on-one sessions. I only do one-on-one sessions for the people in the program because nervous systems are grounded, they're in tune with their intuition. Then we could actually look into the options of the pathways of the future. So requires a little bit of work, but you might be asking, well, I need the resources to get there. That's where Jenn comes in. She's going to come on and she's going to help you to move through that block, that financial freedom block. So I can't wait to talk to her. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about her right now as I bring up her bio. And let's talk about Jenn. So, Jenn is a #1 international best-selling author. She is a master money mindset coach and manifesting coach, specializing in teaching high-achieving women how to easily attract the level of abundance and love they desire without the hustle. Right. We all want it with ease, right? We don't want to hustle. She was awarded the 40 Under 40 Rising Star by one of Colorado's top business journals. She is a practicing registered nurse, certified in Neuro Quantum Wiring. Prior to becoming a manifestation coach, Jenn consulted and coached corporations like National Geographic, Whole Foods, and others. After 8 years of climbing the corporate ladder, Jenn felt the pull to pivot and align into her soul's work as a coach. And you would believe how many of my clients come to me and they're like, I hate corporate, want to get out of corporate, want to get out of my 9 to 5 and make an impact in the world. Jenn did this. She lived in India to study Eastern traditional medicine, including Ayurveda and yoga. And Jenn has had her bachelor's degree from Colorado State and is a certified yoga instructor. And she currently lives in Colorado with her 5-year-old daughter, Stella. Welcome to the show, Jenn.
Thank you, Marisa. It's so exciting to be here.
It's so exciting to have you here. And we had a little discussion backstage about what we're seeing with our clients and how we're seeing this manifesting right now in this period of time where people are like, I want change. I want it now. I'm sick of living this way. I'm sick of living for other people. I want to live for myself. This is the time for me, but they're having trouble stepping into that, getting the help. So you are part of this whole movement and journey. So I'd like to hear a little bit more about you and your story first. Have you had these issues which you pushed through yourself?
Oh my gosh. Excuse me. Yes, 100%. All of the stories you were sharing, the anecdotal stories, it was very resonant to me. And my money story goes back to a very core memory that was traumatic for me. When I was 7 years old, my mom was getting evicted. She was a single mom. I had my younger brother who was 5 at the time, and times were tough in that whole household. And my mom did a really good job of staying calm, but she was holding down 2 jobs while going back to school to be a teacher. And that really interrupted our way of living. And we weren't living very well in the first place. It was very much paycheck to paycheck in my household, and you getting a lot of hand-me-downs from friends for clothing. And so the core memory I have is when we had the eviction notice, and my mom, I could just sense the tension, and it was palpable. And she wasn't expressing it verbally, but I could sense that our basic safety of shelter was being compromised. And what that led me to believe at a very young age was that you have to work really hard for money, really, really hard, like backbreaking, sacrificial, like make all the sacrifices you possibly can to earn a buck. And that money was this elusive thing that was really hard to grasp or obtain in life, and especially large amounts of it. And so I operated for many years under that belief, under those 2 very limiting beliefs about money. And that really showed up in a lot of my corporate days, running the hamster wheel, like you said, of spinning my wheels and hustling, and really subscribing to that hustle culture mindset of I have to work really hard, so much so that I burnt myself out.
Yeah. And 2, you probably would feel if you started making money with ease and you didn't have to work as hard, you would almost feel like you were betraying something.
Oh, 100%. 100%. Yeah, I came from I'm second generation Italian. So God bless my mom and my grandma, but I got a lot of my limiting money stories and beliefs from them. I love them to pieces. But my grandma lived in Italy where it was during World War II, and there were many nights where she would go home starving or eat something like a squirrel or a rat, as intense as that sounds. And so, yeah, growing up, it was like you have to work hard and never waste anything. And it was always like any money you did have, it was like you cling on to it for dear life because you don't ever know when it might leave. And you can just imagine the energy of if you take it as a person, if we cling on to someone to dear life, you can't leave me. That's gonna repel so much of that other person is gonna be like, please, I need space. Give me my bubble. Yeah.
And these are the same types of circumstances where people are saying, but I want a lot of money and I want financial freedom, but I have this mindset.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where I have all this fear around money. And so like money's always limited then, correct?
Absolutely. And then it becomes this vicious cycle. Absolutely. It's this negative loop where you shared about dysregulation of our nervous system, where then our body, we create this truth within our body. It becomes this physical response that then we identify as the ultimate truth within ourselves of, okay, well, the only way to make money is to bend over backwards or to burn myself out and work really hard. And that creates that vicious cycle. It's the neural pathways in our brain that are created and then are really deeply grooved into our nervous system.
Yeah. And so many people say, well, I'd love to leave my 9-to-5 job. I'd love to leave corporate, but I can't because I need to support my family, or I need to, they're not comfortable leaving something secure and stable to follow a dream of opening their business or making money doing something they love or they dreamed about, because they feel like from the way they grew up, like that's just a fantasy, like that can't happen. You're going to struggle and you're going to go into the coal mine. Like from where I grew up, everybody worked in the coal mines back in the day, and you're going to come out dusty and all like from soot red to toe, and you're going to eat your sandwich at the end of the day. And like dreams are for dreamers, pretty much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's twofold. It's about understanding what the limiting beliefs are about money.
Mm-hmm.
And then asking yourself, really taking an inventory, and something that I teach my clients, one of the very first steps to transforming the relationship with money, which then empowers them. And they are like, Jen, how is this happening right now? But one of the most basic steps to take is to grab a piece of paper, grab a pen, and journal for 20 minutes on all of the negative beliefs you have about money, because we have to bring these to our awareness in order to change them. That's the first step.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems so basic, but it's so powerful, because then what we get to do is we get to be the author of our book. We get to edit chapters. We get to rewrite our story however we want to. And the first way we do that is by then it's almost like a magnifying glass and being like, is this true? Is this belief serving me? Is it supporting me? Or might it be hindering me from receiving more financial flow into my life? And it's a yes or no, black or white question, right? And that's easy for us in our brain to kind of back into, is like, okay, no, I know that this isn't serving me. You don't need to know the how or how to change it quite yet, but just bringing that awareness to the surface is the first step. And then you get to go back to this, and this is a living, breathing document. And over time, as I hit every new up level financially, when I started making 10, 12K months in my business, there was another limiting belief or handful of limiting beliefs. So
Right.
it is a process that it evolves over time. You're not wrong if you've cleared a lot and healed a lot of your relationship with money, but then, you're just going about your life, and then all of a sudden you're like, whoa, I thought I fixed this. It never is fully fixed. It's just the next layer. So then you get to create, and then the next step to that is you get to create empowering beliefs, or beliefs that you want to start believing. You may not believe them yet, and that's okay. but you can start writing the new beliefs and start by saying, I'm willing to believe that making money is actually easy for me. I'm willing to see the ways in which it can be proven to me that making money doesn't have to be hard. So it's that openness then. It's opening a door to a new way of thinking that allows for transformation to occur. And that transformation is a process, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think too, there's action too, because we could want to change our limiting beliefs with money. And I'm sure, and I'd like to get back to your story just for a second. There had to be a point where you had to choose to invest in your personal development to make money when you didn't have money, right?
Yes.
And so a lot of people are saying, well, when I have the money, then I'll invest it. Well, that time doesn't come. I remember like when I up leveled many different times in my career and in my life was when I had less money in my bank account than the investment required.
Yep.
And I had to trust the universe. It's almost like I had to have the faith before the bridge was like, it's like I wanted that bridge to be there. I'd be like, I wanted that guarantee that if I'm going to invest this, I know it's going to be there, right? I wanted that guarantee. And the universe was like, no, no, no. We're going to make you invest this, then we'll give it back.
Yeah.
And that's how like you're going to have to trust that you are having the courage to take this leap and that something is going to be there, because you can't do it with having that guarantee. It doesn't really work that way, and it hasn't worked that way for me. It was at my lowest point where I had little money in my bank account and I was being asked, if you want this solution, here's this amount. And I'm like, you know what? Pressing that button and saying charge at that moment was the scariest thing. Like that was the hardest thing I had to do,
Yeah.
you know? And then 20 minutes later, the exact amount of money came. It was like a $19 difference. And I'm like,
Uh-huh.
really?
Yeah.
Really? The exact amount.
Yeah.
And I see people in my program all the time that, it was a stretch, for some of my clients to say, I'm going to invest in myself, not just monetarily, but to think like, is this a waste of money investing in myself? Am I worth it to invest in myself? I could be putting money toward my kids or college education or our bills or like vacations, but is this like investing in myself? Like, what is this? Like, why should I do this? And it's almost like the concept is very foreign if you haven't started to do that. But that's where I feel people get stuck, is they want that change, and that change requires an energetic commitment, which they tie to a financial commitment and investment. And then that's the block. Well, I don't have the money to do that. I wish I could, but I don't have the money. How would you respond to that as a money and mindset coach? Because I'm sure you've had that moment where you had to invest in yourself. And with everything you just told me, I don't know how you actually broke through that.
I thank you. Thank you. I'm really proud of the journey and how far I've made it. And I feel like I'm just beginning in some ways. But so yeah, I have a personal story, and then I want to answer your question, which is yes, in my early 30s is when or late 20s to early 30s is when I really started to pivot. That's when I was about to move to India. And, no one needs to move to India to figure out their life. Like you can there, but that was my path at the time. And that was when I was really starting to choose me and starting to prioritize my own personal development and growth. And I invested in a coach, and I was scared. Oh my gosh, I was scared because I had just left my 9 to 5, and I was really trying to like work the budget so that I could figure out this new move. And I remember same situation where I was like, I don't know how I'm going to find the funds, but I'm going to put this on this credit card. It's a no interest, it's an interest-free credit card for 16 months. I'll make payments. I'll do what I can because I know that I need to do something differently right now, other than what I've been doing, which is being in the familiar and staying constricted and stuck. So I knew I had to shake things up in order to see a change. And this meant actually changing my behavior. So I put the money on the credit card, and I kid you not, 3 weeks later, I actually won all that money back in a contest.
What?
I did.
Wait,
I
you have to give me more details on this.
I submitted. So I was starting work with my life coach, and I started. I just felt the inspiration. I was on a road trip, and I was like, you know what? There was this opportunity to do this fun social media photography contest. And I was like, sure, I'm going to do it. That
Okay.
sounds like a blast. It sounded like I was like, again, doing things differently. I say DTD all the time, do things differently. I was like, that sounds like fun. When have I done something that was actually like inspires a lot of joy? So I was like, this is easy. I had no expectation of winning, and I actually won first place, and I won that exact amount of money back. So there you go. And here's why this works. Because you must start looking at money as a relationship, as a healthy, loving, intimate relationship. There is a level of trust that is needed in any healthy relationship. So just take, for example, a spouse. You trust that your spouse is going to his work or her work. And when they say they're going to be back at 6 o'clock for dinner, you trust that they're going to be back because they have evidence and proof. And you've created this really beautiful relationship where you trust. And you don't need to call every 5 minutes during the day and be like, okay, are you sure you're coming at 6 o'clock? Okay. And then you don't call again an hour later and say, okay, I know you just told me, but I just need to make sure again. What that does is that comes from an energy of control and desperation.
Mm-hmm.
And that repels. That is a repelling energy.
Mm-hmm.
In a healthy relationship, that wouldn't go. And it's the same thing when it comes to money. Money is energy. It is a neutral energy. It is the meaning that we give money that creates these stories in our mind that are labeled as good or bad.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm just going to jump in real quick.
Please.
There had to be some sort of emotional pain that was greater than your fear of money in that moment that you got your life coach.
100%.
Because you probably had these opportunities many other times in your life and you're like, I don't have the money, I'm not doing it. And what happened in that moment that was that shift for you that allowed you to take the leap off the cliff, not knowing if there was going to be a trampoline?
Yes, thank you. Yes. So what was happening personally with me is, well, I had just left my 9 to 5, and I had put so much of my identity and worth into my achievements in corporate. And I was learning that, holy crap, like, I don't know who I am as a person. I don't have any sense of self. I didn't even know if I had a favorite color or a hobby. I didn't know what lit me up. And I was also going through a divorce at the time. And I was at my wit's end. I was tired of the way that I was living my life from this very burnt out, exhausted, depleted place where I was having suicidal thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, enough is enough. And there's something really beautiful sometimes about being fed up, because one of my favorite quotes, and I'm not going to be able to say it as eloquently or as verbatim, but what happens with transformation is the pain of staying constricted becomes far greater than the pain of expanding and blooming.
Mm-hmm.
And that was just the quote that was running through my mind and really touching my heart in a lot of ways. It was very impactful. And that was very much the quote that was guiding me through this big leap of faith. It was like this trust fall the universe was asking me to do. Like, hey, here you go. Here's my credit card. Ooh, and it was shaky. It was a very shaky moment. Absolutely. Because there was no guarantee, right? And it was had me needing to access the depths of my intuition and let something far greater and more profound than me to do some of the driving here, because for so long I was trying to control and micromanage every part of my life. And I knew what that was creating in my life, and I didn't like it anymore, and it wasn't sustainable for me.
So you hit a pretty low emotional bottom at that point.
Absolutely. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely.
And I have, I have a lot of people who really need the help. They come, they say, "Oh my God, I want this. This is something that is, everything that I'm looking for." But they'd have to depend on other people to approve it. Right? Are you hearing me okay? Is there
Oh, yeah.
static?
No, I can hear you. Can you hear me okay?
There's a little bit of static, but I hopefully should be all right.
Okay. I don't hear
Not
anything.
sure. Not sure where it's coming from. Um, what do you say to that when somebody really wants to make that change, but they have to depend on a spouse or a parent or somebody else's, approval of what they're doing to be able to do this, and that really sets them back. And then they're like, "I really want this, but I can't because this person won't let me."
Right. Okay. So I think there's different contexts or varying layers to this. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
so first that comes to mind is obviously we have to consider the context. So I'm going to start with the context of, there's there's an open dialogue with your partner or with your parent who is possibly the primary earner in the family dynamic or under the household. So if it is a solid relationship where there is communication and you feel comfortable enough, I always say have these conversations with that person and tell them why this is important to you. Allow yourself to have those vulnerable conversations of, I really want to do this because this is what I've been experiencing. And I feel in my heart and really, really, truly think that this can create some big changes in my life. But here's the thing, everything, everything in life will have some sort of price tag or some investment, right? If we can think about like college, right? If there's a course or a class that you want to take, it is a little bit more socially accepted to be like, oh, yeah, okay, great. All right, wonderful. I can totally subscribe to this, or I can totally back you up on this. And then I get it with coaching, because coaching is somewhat of this, even though it's been around for years and years and years, I'm hearing so many people say, I'm not familiar with coaching. This seems new to me. This is a new modality out there. What is it? So have those conversations. I want to say too that if the conversation is, if you have this healthy relationship with the other person, your partner, your spouse, your parent, have the conversation and know that sometimes asking, I was going to be pretty bold to say this, but sometimes when we ask for permission for other people, if you're noticing that this is a common thing, you're commonly backing up, you're close to doing something or investing in yourself, but then you're like, okay, I got to ask for permission, or I got to do this. When you're noticing that is continuously happening, it's a pattern, I want you to take a look at how you might be diminishing your power. Because when we ask for permission habitually from other people for certain things that we know are going to catapult us and launch us forward, we are absolutely giving our power away and diminishing that power. And if that is a case where it's a flat out no, I want to say that we are resourceful human beings, and money comes to us in limitless ways and channels. Limitless ways and channels. There is not one way to earn money. There's not one way to have money flow into our lives. So it can be as basic as, if the answer is still no, or it is the money is not coming from this revenue or this avenue, then there are so many other ways to create money in your life. So many other ways. I've had clients sell things. I've had
Yeah.
clients, like during 2020, they were like, you know what, let's be real and honest, I overdid it on buying the crystals. And so I'm
Yeah.
all these crystals back, and she actually made more money than she expected. And guess what? Because of this, I'm going maybe down a little bit of a rabbit hole, because she started to show up in this newer version of herself. She actually 3 months later switched positions. I coached her through this whole thing and received a $17,000 salary increase because of it.
Yeah, believe it or not, like this stuff, we're not making this up. This really happens in my program. Like, I believe there's a nervous system component to it, that if you don't feel safe, feeling seen, heard, understood, actually recognized in life, or to take risks, or you weren't ever supported in taking the risks, and it's like, well, you have to be a lawyer or a doctor, and anything else you want to do, it's not going to make you money.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And if you're used to feeling that way, then it's going to be a lot harder for you to take that step forward.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so many, I think society is starting to open up more to this understanding that there isn't just the traditional ways of making money, like from a corporate 9 to 5. There's so with the internet right now, there's so many opportunities for us to do anything. I mean, anything that's at our fingertips to create more revenue into our lives. Absolutely.
The reason I'm in this job, the reason I have this career for the past 25 years, which would make me more money per hour than some of those other jobs over time, is because nobody would hire me out of graduate school. Because I spent a year trying to get a $17 an hour job in a mailroom, and they're like, you're too overqualified because you have a master's degree. Or, I mean, I pounded the pavement just to get a job for a year, and then was so like, reached out to the universe and said, what do you want me to do? Because this isn't working. And I said, I will do anything. Like, I don't care how weird it is. The next day I have someone call me and say, hey, do you want to fill up some guy's water at a wing eating competition? And I'm like, are you serious? Like, go to the Comcast Arena, 35,000 drunk men screaming at me. And I'm filling up some guy's water who has a SpongeBob t-shirt on in a wing eating competition. And I'm like, well, the universe said, I said, it doesn't matter how weird it is. And then I ended up getting invited to a pretty well-known Philadelphia talk show host radio show, and found out about my abilities, and my whole career opened from that day.
Wow.
You know, because I did something that I said to the universe, I don't know what to do, show me. And I could have said, I'm not doing this. This is weird. Like, this doesn't fit into my sense of safety. And two, once I learned about the nervous system and the capacity of the nervous system, you wouldn't believe the regulating tools that I give people in my program to expand their nervous system out of that state of fight or flight, of scarcity, of fearing their stability being taken away. Mm-hmm. They're like, this is weird. For the last 40 years, I've been living paycheck to paycheck, and now I have an extra $2,000 in my account. Like, how did that happen?
Yep.
Or 2 people went off scratch-offs. Another person, due to them being more in tune with their intuition, saved themselves $15,000 on something that would have been a mistake. So it's like, this stuff, they weren't even seeking this stuff. And because they expanded their nervous system capacity, got out of fight or flight in the nervous system, got out of that shutdown freeze state, and came into a state of connection with the universe, with their own alignment, all of a sudden some money's coming. Like, how did that happen? They weren't even coming into the program to make money.
Yes,
you know what I'm saying?
Yes. And so I have so many testimonials of that too, where, you know, I'll have a client and she's like, okay, here I go. Here's the payment. And then, oh, okay, grandma just decided this Christmas to send everyone, all of her grandkids, $5,000 out of the blue. Like,
yeah.
Where did that come from? Right. And that, I just think, illustrates what we're talking about, is like, there is a limitless amount of channels in which money can flow into our lives. Are we willing to get resourceful and be creative and have this open heart and mind to start getting curious and exploring these different avenues? And especially some avenues that, you know, like you said, are like, that's a little weird, but I'm curious. And if we can, you know, walk yourself through the process of like, is this a safe thing? Of course, we absolutely I don't think we're at all encouraging, like, just, you know, say yes to the person who reached out to you on Instagram to take photos of you. No, like,
yeah.
Use your discernment and know that, you know, when you create this energy of openness, the universe just responds to it. It's just this and you could take it as universe and talk about it in a manifesting way or in a quantum physics way of just, it is energy. Everything is an energy and is a touch point. And the more that I just love using the analogy of looking at it as a team. The more that we show money and the universe that, hey, we're here, I'm welcoming you with really open arms. So I'm willing to do my part here on this journey, just like any team, right? It's a receptive energy. So then we get to be in that receiving energy then as a result of it. But we can't expect for our team to do all the work either. There is some legwork and some taking action. And sometimes it's bold and courageous action. Sometimes it is like, the fear underneath the anxiety. But if you can ask yourself, okay, what am I feeling? And I'm about to invest in myself here. It's a little scary. I'm feeling some anxiety and some fear. But if underneath that fear, if you take it deeper, is there excitement? Are you excited to see what's to come? Then that is your answer that you're on the right path. That's your answer that you're making the right choice. That's your answer that it's an aligned decision. Because if there's excitement underneath of like, ooh, I'm really wobbly right now and I'm a little shaky and I might, like just riding a bike for the first time, but underneath you're excited, that's where like magic comes. And the universe really responds to that energy, just like we would if we were in a team, right? Working on a goal together, say with a company. Okay, we're going to make $1 million this year. It's a team effort. And this is your responsibility. This is yours. This is yours. Let's all come together and collaborate. So looking at it as more of this collaborative relationship has just completely transformed so many of my clients' relationships with money, including my own.
Yeah. And that's so important to talk about. And up to this point, I think we've been talking about getting permission to spend it, not having it, and having the faith. But I also see people who do have the money.
Oh, yeah.
But then don't see the value because they're still in scarcity thinking from their childhood of investing that money in themselves, because that's not a proper use of the money, right?
Yes.
Of saying I wouldn't ever spend $5,000-$10,000 on myself, like, or they're cheap with themselves because this is something they've hoarded the money, and it's kind of like, well, I have all this money, but I'm just gonna, I don't like I'm not gonna invest in things that are abundant for myself. I'm just gonna still be tight-fisted with it. Or you have the people, and I've had clients like this too, that basically would write me a check and say, I know, I'm excited. This is what I want to do. This is it. I'm starting, I'm changing my life. And like somebody in their life who had influence on them was like, oh, why would you do that? Like, why would you invest in that? Why you're making a big mistake investing in a coach, a transformational journey. Like, that's a waste of your money. And then they come to me, they'll be like, well, my family doesn't approve, but it's not like they didn't have the money. Do you know what I'm saying? So there are all these different aspects to it. What would you say about something like that? Like,
Yeah.
That's so powerful, and how much limitation you have on yourself that has nothing to do with money at all, and you can't invest.
Right. You hit the nail on the head, and you used the word limitation, and that's exactly what it is we're limiting ourselves when we play in those beliefs, in those belief systems. We are absolutely limiting ourselves. And, like I had mentioned before, we diminish our power when we allow other people to, or give our power away when we take on people's energy or their thought systems. The biggest thing is like, here's why this is so hard, because society does not teach this in schools about learning the art and the technique of trusting your own self. It's like, having this ability of, listen, like things are coming at us. We get 11 million bits of data thrown at us every second. And we can only, our conscious minds can only take in 50 bits of that data, from 11 million to 50 bits. And then when we take on that data, we generalize, we make judgments. That's how our brain system does it. And it goes on autopilot. And so this is why one of the first steps I'd shared is getting into this awareness of the beliefs behind these actions. Why are you doing this? Why is this a common pattern? Because we, in order to break free from these chains of limitation and limiting thoughts, we have to bring awareness, and we have to have this willingness to to tell a different story, because it's just, our brains are like this. It's a computer system essentially. And so if we don't allow ourselves to take the time to pour into ourselves and to really evaluate how we're thinking, we're just going to continue to go on autopilot. It's our subconscious mind who takes over. And our subconscious mind has a lot of limiting beliefs about a lot of things. And those come from how we were raised. It comes from our caretakers. It comes from outside sources. It comes from current world affairs and what the news is saying and all the messages and the underlying messages that it conveys. It comes from media. So we have to really be conscientious of how we're filtering, what we're doing to actually filter this, as we're simultaneously working to establish new beliefs that are actually in alignment with limitlessness. And it is work. And one of the reasons why I think coaching is so important is because you have someone who's walking you through that entire process. So you don't have to do it on your own, because it's a lot of work, and it requires a lot of expansion as well, which in of itself is highly uncomfortable to our system and our nervous system.
Yeah, and that's such a great point. And I had this like little vision when you were talking about how people are trapped in their body with all this dysregulation and all this stimuli and all of the need to just like numb all of the anxiety and the depression and the feeling of being like this all the time and in fight or flight. And so that feeling of them saying, you know, if they feel trapped in their body, normally they probably feel trapped in other areas of their life, you know, financially, maybe in their home life when they were younger, or in a relationship, or just trapped living in a certain place. That feeling of not having that boundless freedom to just be a little kid and be excited and do it. So I think some people, when they get that overwhelming feeling and they're ready to take that leap, it's like, oh, wait, like this shouldn't be happening. I shouldn't have this boundless feeling of freedom to just run free in the field and do what I want. Like, this is wrong. I'm being way too emotional about this, or way too impulsive, or way too crazy. This is crazy that I'm just going to be free and, you know, invest in myself and get excited about something and jump toward it. Like, normally I'm cautious or whatever. It probably feels very like, you know, you're going to be doing something crazy. You do that. Like you feel free. We're not used to feeling free to just act on our own intuition and our own guidance. Absolutely. And to actually just step into it so instantly. We think that everything has to be a process, and a very difficult one at best. It can't be that easy to shift within seconds and jump into and leap into the next quantum field. It could, it is. But then people are like, wait, I just experienced, like, I just ran off a cliff and started hang gliding, and I'm like, what just happened? I can't, this is unsafe. I can't do this. I'm going to fall. Oh my God, everything's going to be horrible. Oh, you know, and then they go crazy.
Yep.
And it's part of the nervous system feeling unsafe with freedom, because freedom and being in the present moment and being able to be free in who you are was a dangerous thing back then.
Yep. Exactly.
So your nervous system is going to come online and say, you got to get out of this. Like, we have to stop this. This is not safe. I'm going to give you all these symptoms of anxiety and all these symptoms of, you better stop this now because you need to protect yourself, because being seen, being free, and jumping at these things and not knowing what you're doing, this is so unsafe.
Yes.
And that's your subconscious.
Yes. Yes. Our ego thrives in familiarity. And
yeah.
And I love that you're saying this. And I also want to bring some and normalize this, because I too still go through this response.
Yeah, of course.
This is not something that is just like a one and done, and then you'll never experience it again. Because here's the thing, life is not static. We are not static. We are multifaceted. We are dynamic. Life is the same. And so therefore, why would life operate, a healthy, fulfilling, joyful life operate in a static way, where we're just kind of stuck in the same thing over and over and over and over again? It's, to me, my personal mission and philosophy is like, that's not the point or purpose to living. The purpose to living is to live and to experience and to grow through the process. And if you take growth, that is also a very dynamic, multifaceted, non-static process and way of being too. And so there are times where it's easier for me to just jump right into something. And then there are other times where it's like, okay, I'm noticing my nervous system right now needs some regulation. I'm noticing that I got triggered because I'm about to give this talk, and I had a thought that crossed my mind that was nervous about what other people might think, or they might judge me or criticize me negatively. And so then I have to go back to that and be like, okay, here we go. This is why my nervous system feels this way right now. Is this true? Is this not true? Maybe it is true, but ultimately I'm not going to die from this. That this is the next step for me, and this is the process for me. And I know that on the other side of giving this talk, some really beautiful things are going to occur. I'm going to create some amazing connections with people. I'm hopefully going to inspire people. So you always have to like keep things in this perspective, because we aren't taught that things are safe. A lot of times, a lot of the people I work with, and myself included, our body is used to traumatic feelings, big T or little t. It just is, and so we grow up with this feeling, or these energetic densities in our body that, although uncomfortable and although keeping us stuck, are familiar to us. And familiar to us in our ego and in our subconscious equates to safety. But that's not always the truth. And so how can you start to integrate feelings of safety throughout your life and your process, so that you can then at times then just jump into things as well? Because it is this beautiful dance for me. There's like, again, sometimes it's easy and I'm just like, yeah, let's go. We're going, moving and grooving. And then there are times where I'm like, oh, okay, whoo. Take a moment here, breathe. Let's evaluate the situation. What's going on? What's underneath the surface?
And I think what you're saying is that every time we up level, we go through that again. I still go through that. So maybe 10 years ago, I would have been like $325 on Coach. No, I couldn't do that 10 years ago. Like, no, I couldn't even invest that. Today, oh, that's like, really? Okay, sure.
Yeah.
5 years ago, $3,500 on a year-long program. It was like sweat pouring. Like, I'm going to really do this for me. Like, I'll do this, like spend it on my car or my house or, whatever. But like, really? And would that be hard for me today? No, because I know what it gives you back. But if somebody said, oh, here's a program for $50,000 on, Business Mastermind, I'd have to go through exactly what I went through at $325 again.
Yes.
To up level. But we plateau, and then we have to say, we've expanded our capacity this much. We can hold this much energy. Then we're like, I want to create a bigger life and a bigger life. So we have to still, during those up leveling moments, be able to receive that in our nervous system. And if we don't expand our nervous system capacity, we can't receive it at that level. So if people are like, how can I step into this when I'm in that state of fight or flight or fear and my nervous system is going haywire? Well, we don't step into that because that's traumatic for your system when you're feeling that way. We regulate you with regulating tools to get back to your connected space. Then you're going to trust yourself and jump in, not when you're feeling like that. That's not a way we do it. Why would we do that to your system? That's traumatic. But people feel like they have to push themselves sometimes to even like, well, I have to push myself to do this job. I have to push myself every day to go to work, do this job. Push, push, push. You're traumatizing yourself every day.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And creating more and more of that so that becomes, it requires more effort to expand your capacity to limitlessness.
Yeah.
The more that you try to push yourself and push yourself and push yourself. Yes.
Yeah. And I know people that are in executive leadership, right? That make hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, but still won't like go to a high-end, spa and spend $500 on, a spa escape over there. But they'll be like, well, $100 for this is what, I'm used to paying. That's what's worth it. And it's like, no, splurge on yourself. Go do it. You have the money, but it's still the mindset of limitation where it's like, this is all I'm worth spending on myself. Like, no, honey, you're a princess. You're worth more than that. You've earned this. And this is men too. This is not just women. This is men too.
Yes.
And you could just be as tight with your money if you make $1 million as if you have a $20,000 job a year. It's still the same mindset. You're still not allowing yourself to be free and to really trust that it's going to come back around energetically. So there's so many facets of this to talk about, right? But where do we start? We start with what comes first, the chicken or the egg? If you want to make your life bigger, you need to invest in yourself. That's just something you need to do. And to have a coach, a mentor, it doesn't have to be me or Jen. It could be anybody. And to invest in yourself in a level higher than you're comfortable with. Just a little bit. Not like to where you're not comfortable spending $100,000 on a coach. We don't want you to do that. We don't want you to put yourself in a financial situation. But if you're comfortable spending $1,000, maybe spend $3,000. I don't know. I'm just bringing numbers into my head. Just make yourself a little uncomfortable so that you could trust taking a leap and trust yourself in knowing that your intuition is valid, taking those steps confidently, seeing the results, and then expanding again at the next level.
Beautiful. Yeah, that's it. And rinse and repeat.
Yeah, rinse and repeat. Because both Jen and I go through this too. When we have to go to our next level, the same thing happens. So having those tools and knowing how to step in is so important.
Beautiful.
And Jen does that in her program. I know you have a group program that you offer, and you also are offering for our viewers, because if you're on the lounge, people usually get some goodies and freebies. So the Financial Flow bundle you've created is a free resource for anybody watching the show to download. It has a workbook, has some audio stuff, and all they need to do is go to your website, which is in the link in the description of the video, download that, and you can get started.
Beautiful.
Right,
yes.
Jen?
Yes. And so that'll give you, it's a great starting point for anyone who wants to work on empowering their money mindset. So it's an audio, which in the spirit of nervous system regulation, it's a guided meditation to regulate your nervous system and really create these new neural pathways and beliefs within yourself of how might an empowered person look at money. And then the workbook takes you into a journey of some heartfelt journal prompt questions that I've curated and crafted that have really, I first started with my own personal journey and then coaching women across the world on empowering their mindset as well. And this, although my clientele is primarily women, this applies to men as well, because I know you have a lot of male audience members too who are tuning in. So this applies to you as well. And this is a great starting point to start regulating your nervous system more and allowing yourself that really beautiful gift of pouring into your own cup.
Yeah, this is awesome. So I'm going to download that too. I just want to see what that's all about. That sounds like a great opportunity. And you also have group programs. You also work with people one-on-one. And I'm sure we'll be seeing more of you around what we do in our world as well, because I love what you offer. And I thank you so much for coming on. And if you want to learn more about Jenn Adamson, all of her links to her Instagram, her website, everything else, and how to get that freebie is in the description of this video. So I'm so happy you came on tonight, Jenn. Thank you so, so much for coming. And any comments, because we just went off on a tangent for an hour, any comments that you want to put in the chat or anything you written in the chat, just saying hi. We will get to that after the show or on the replay, but we will reply to your comments. We would love to know what you thought and if you could resonate with anything that has been talked about tonight. And of course, as I mentioned in the beginning, my group program, the Ascend and Align Accelerator, helps to balance your nervous system, accelerate your intuition, and finally get off that rat race, get back home. I'm going to bring you back home to yourself and get back to that peace, calm, and balance you crave while manifesting that financial freedom and life of abundance. And Jenn will most likely be part of something we do with helping with the mindset as well for money mindset manifestation. So awesome. And Jenn, is there anything else you'd like to say to our audience before we go?
Yeah, I would say start where you are. There is no judgment. There is no shame. I think the biggest thing is the worst thing we can do for ourselves is to create all of this pressure, because we do need to come at this openly and with a lot of clarity and with centeredness. And so wherever you are, just know that it's perfect for you. We've all started on our journey somewhere at the beginning, and just keep it up. Just don't give up. Just stay consistent. But take breaks when you need to take breaks too, because that's healthy. And that is also, rest is a wealth strategy. So I wanted
yes.
Yeah.
So important that we don't have to produce all the time. We could rest. We could actually relax into it and design a life of freedom with ease and purpose, which is the purpose of this show. So if you want to get in touch with Jenn, just download her freebie. It'll put you in touch with everything that she does. And if you want to book a application call to join the Ascend and Align Accelerator, I have 5 spaces left. And we are closing enrollment on August 9th. And to see if it's right for you, book a call with me and we will go over what your goals are and your dreams and get you to step into your soul purpose and balance and ground your nervous system and accelerate your intuition beyond your wildest dreams. So let's go. Book the call with us, download the freebie, and we will see you next week on the lounge. Have fun, everybody. Thank you so much for coming.